Hi guys, this is Lindsay and welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited because for once I have a theme that I planned and executed to basically perfection. And it's weird. I never thought I would do a theme like this for June, considering that June is the epitome of summer, at least for me. I think July is like way too hot, but June is like that lead up into it, and it's just the nice cool summer breeze instead of dealing with humidity, because I feel like that's what's associated with July. But for my theme, I ended up doing lily pads, and there's actually a story behind it. I decided to do something a little bit more of a calmer aesthetic, and the reason why is because for me, I'm going on vacation next month and I already feel kind of stressed out, you know, with normal everyday things, but also planning for a vacation. So I wanted something that when I looked back instantaneously gives me chill vibes, relaxation, quietness, all in one picture. And I thought that doing lily pads was the best way, because I always thought about going out on walks during the summertime, maybe to a park where there's a pond, enjoying Mother Nature and enjoying getting back to life. So that was my big, I guess, motivation to do this type of aesthetic, is that I wanted something that just relaxed me. So with these lily pads, I ended up using watercolors as my main source of material. I ended up doing 3 different colors, so I did mostly greens, but I changed the undertones. So I did a green that is a little bit more yellow based, I did a green that's a little bit more like of a true hunter green, and then the last green has more of a blue undertone. And then I just outlined them with my micron pen just to give a little bit more, I guess, structure to the look. And then I really wanted to capture the waxiness of lily pads. It's when the sun kind of shines on it and you see this bit of reflection and you can see the, I guess, the veins of the plants. So I ended up doing this with my Jelly Roll white pen, and actually at first I was going to use my white acrylic pen from Archer and Olive, but I don't know where I put that. Honestly, I did not want to tear up my house just to find it, so I settled with the best thing I can find. And I'm actually glad, because I feel like if I use the acrylic pen, it would just make the lines too chunky and not really give that appearance of like waxy veins. So I stuck with my Jelly Roll, and I just did it to a couple of lily pads, not too many, because I still wanted to give this organic look. And then my accents are actually going to be from the acrylic set that I have. So I use the AmandaRachLee's collaboration with Archer and Olive, and I use the blue color primarily. I think it's like denim jean, I believe. And I used one of the green shades. I think it's more of the sage green as my other accents, but I still try to keep it more on the minimal approach. So it's very neutral, almost cool tone, and I accented it with a lot of nudish types of accessories like washi tapes and stickers. I kept my quote page more on the simple side just to match the overall aesthetic that I was going for. So I made my quote more of the center focus with little baby lily pads on the sides, almost giving this sway motion that you see lily pads kind of, you know, hanging out in the water, looking kind of like they're dancing a bit. But my quote that I ended up doing is, "A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only once." I don't know, this quote like struck a heart chord in me, because even though my personal life has been pretty chaotic, I still try to find things that recenter me and gives me calmness. And I've actually been reading a lot. Please don't judge on what I read, but I pretty much read a lot of Mawa and manga. It's just something I grew up as a kid Thank you, third grade year old me, for discovering manga books, but I pretty much have been binge reading, especially manhwas, and I kid you not, it's one of my obsessive habits. Good things, I guess you can say. It's very weird, but I can really read for hours and hours, and that's all you'll ever see me do. And I love it because I get so invested in the characters and in the stories that I actually forget the time. Like, time just slips away, and I love it because sometimes it's a good escape from the chaoticness that I've been kind of going through on a day-by-day basis. At this point, I really ended up liking how the acrylic pens looked, so I ended up doing my calendar with the additional green sagey color, and I actually loved how it looks. At first, I was very intimidated because me and acrylic pens, we have a very long track history with each other, and it's not a great one. But I will tell you this now, throughout this whole setup, it was so easy. And I was actually shocked at how easy my Jelly Roll white pen just glided, like effortlessly, on the page. So I actually ended up using that as my accents because it's so opaque compared to the watercolor, which is a little bit more free-formed and very loosely, I guess, like mastered or adaptable. I'm not sure the word that I'm really trying to describe, but basically I love the contrast between the two mediums. They just look so good together, and I pretty much wanted the focal point to be the calendar, even though it's literally engulfed in all these lily pads. I think that having such saturated colors really gives that like spotlight without having to do too much. And also, if you guys didn't know why I did lily pads besides the type of aesthetic I was going for, I kid you not, lily pads are like super easy to draw. I've never drew one in my life. I don't know why, never crossed my mind, but I actually was shocked at how easy it was. At first, when I was doing this theme, I originally wanted to do it with like goldfish. Why? I don't know, to be honest. But I ended up not having goldfish to use. Like, I didn't want to draw goldfish. I thought that would be a little bit like overkill. But the washi tape I originally wanted to use, the goldfish, was so tiny. I was like, yeah, no. I'm not going to be cutting that out and struggling for hours and hours just to get like this type of look. So I ended up opting for the, I guess, the look of the top of a pond with little peaks of lily pads sticking out, and this is where it really gives that look. I started putting a lot of like butterflies and dragonflies to just like chef kiss that look, and I love how it turned out. If you guys are actually curious as to what types of washi tape and stickers that I'm using, I'm actually using it from PaperMinty Studios. Now, it's not sponsored or anything. I actually love her products so much that I just buy them out of my pocket. But if you have never checked her out, I highly recommend because I love her aesthetic. She is such a very like neutral vintage type of gal. Like, a lot of her color ranges is very much on the nude spectrum, so you have like pinky nudes, beige nudes, brownie nudes, like anything in between. And she does all her washi tape designs, she does all her sticker designs, anything you can think of. And the stickers I actually used was from this new form of washi tape that I've never really even heard of before. It's called like the pep tape. So basically it's like this gigantic roll of washi tape, and you can actually cut out the designs and use them almost like stickers. So I ended up doing that, and I really only cut out the dragonflies and the butterflies because it does come with flowers, but I thought that having the flowers was just like way too much. so I just used it sparingly here and there when I needed a little bit something more in my overall look. At this point in my mind, I wanted to do something really different, kind of funky, but I just didn't know how to do it. So I actually thought to myself, like, hey, if you're doing something more of a relaxed theme, just keep it very simple. And I kind of did that. And it's very weird because I tend to like overdo it with my doodles sometimes, and it was hard not to do it this time around, but I still kind of did. I decided to do this very weird Dutch door type of style. I've seen different versions of this achieved by other creators, and I never thought to do it myself until now, pretty much. So I kept my habit tracker very simple because, one, when I do fill it out day by day, of course I'll use color, so that's where you get that extra pop of color, but I wanted the center focus to be the actual lily pads. When I was doing this type of look, I was thinking of, imagine yourself like submerged in the water and you see like this stalk of lily pads, almost like seaweed or kelp, and have it kind of layered. It worked because it actually covers up a lot of the space, because I didn't want to do a mood tracker, but I still didn't want to have too much blank space. So I ended up having this be more in the center of my 2 pages. And also I did something pretty interesting on the next page. But as you can see, I really struggled so badly with my scissors because I never thought I would need one of those like exo knives. I think that's what it's called. And I see why people like it, because I had to cut out a lot of the time I spent cutting the paper with scissors. It was so bad, but I'm glad that I achieved the look because I didn't want to get too exact with the shapes of the lily pads. It's just something super loose and whatever can get the job done, because I wanted to still portray something on the other side. Same thing with my playlist. I really wanted to keep it more on the simple side and have my lily pads be the center focus. And actually what really helps is if you give the illusion that the lily pads are actually overtaking the spread. I have some of the lily pads actually over the boxes that I would have for the little album covers, and it just helps with this illusion that it's popping out. But for my playlist, I actually kept it to 6 songs, and I'll be honest, my music diversity, it wasn't really there. It's weird because I think a few days before filming, Bad Bunny released his new album, and that's all I listened to. And I tried hard not to just throw all of my favorite songs, so I tried to pick my 2 favorite ones, and then I did, you know, a couple of other different songs, whether it's from Jack Harlow, I believe that's his name, from Jungkook to Iso Kenny. So I tried to kind of spread out my music tastes a little bit without just like dumping Bad Bunny's album all over this page. But I can finally say that I got printer ink too, because if you saw my last 2 Plan With Me's, you'll notice that I ran out of ink and never got my butt to the store. And thank goodness that before I started filming, I was at Target and ended up getting ink, and so it really helps pull this spread together. but this is where I wanted the center focus to be the lily pads, because this looks absolutely gorgeous. I'll be honest, I didn't think it'll come out exactly like this in my head. Like, I had an idea, but it was actually executed pretty dang good. And I love that it gives this illusion that it's just popping out of the page. Finally, the weekly spread, or should I say more of the first 2 weeks for the weekly spread. So I tried to go for something that is very simple, easy, and just gets the job done. And I don't know why, when I think of that, the first thing that screams to my mind is Dutch door. So I ended up doing the first 2 weeks of June, of course, doing a Dutch door spread. So I pretty much made the days of the week more in the center of the page and did more of the lily pad artwork on the sides. Now, if you ask me, Lindsay, what is going on with your spacing? Listen, I don't even know, to be honest. I didn't know that my spacing is all over the place until I actually started going with the blue acrylic pen. And you know, we won't question it. We'll take life as it goes, and let's just hope I have enough space for my daily tasks. But like I said, it was super easy using the white gel pen because it glided effortlessly, and that says a lot for someone who struggled with anything white gel pen or white acrylic based, because it never ends up working. But this time around it did, so I'm pretty happy with that. With the lily pads, I just kept them really simple. I did a few here and there, kind of like clustered stalks, and just kind of did the same idea of having them pop out of the page. So I didn't do anything crazy like I did with the Dutch door for my habit and playlist spreads, but instead I had it be more where the lily pads are actually overgrowing the box of where I'll write my daily tasks in. So it gave this really cool, you know, pop out feature. And even though it is just doodles and it is watercolor based, I felt like it was really important to incorporate this type of technique because it gives so much more to the artwork and to the doodles. Especially with watercolor, it's really hard to make something kind of flat have a lot more, I guess, oomph to it. It's hard to describe, but pretty much when I was doing the watercolors, I purposely made sure to leave some white spots here and there, almost like where the light would hit directly on top. And then I actually went over and created dark sections of paint to insinuate that there's shadow. So it really gave this 3D effect that I really love, because when I first thought of lily pads, I knew right away that I can only achieve that specific look with watercolors and not with markers. I mean, I think you can still do it with markers, but I think it'll be a lot more harder, and I was just really worried of having it bleed through the page. So I was just wanting to be more on the safer route and ended up doing watercolors. Just adding some final touches of the pep tape with the butterfly and the dragonflies on it. I'm also incorporating some bits of washi tape just to tie it all together and pretty much give this look that we're looking at the top surface of a pond. we're finally here to the flip through, and I am so happy with how this came out. I think I'm very, very proud of this theme, and it's actually on my top list of themes I love in general. And I just love how simple it is, and sometimes it's hard for me to scale back the doodles in the artwork, but for once it really pays off, and I hope you guys love it too. Until next time, bye!